I, 28, recently got my baby son. After years of trying, I finally was able to have a child on my own. I struggled to get pregnant for several years, but luckily, I had my husband Michael by my side to support me. I was lucky though in a sense. Michael works in an extremely well-paid job, so we could afford expensive stuff for an unborn baby. But for some reasons that annoyed my stepsister Joy, 23F, a lot. She has 4 kids on her own and had a miscarriage, which I wasn't aware of until I set my baby room up. I try to be very cautious about this topic with her since I knew how painful it can be at times. Michael and I accommodated her a lot during those times. I let her stay in our house when her husband kicked her out since he has alcohol issues. I try to buy her things to cheer her up. Michael even offered her husband a job, but they declined because it doesn't pay enough, etc. The first time Joy made me uncomfortable was when she arrived at my house once with her toddler and saw my unborn baby nursery at that time. She then revealed that she had a miscarriage and that it was insensitive of me to do those things whilst she going through grief. I apologized and tried to change the subject. Then she asked me to not post anything about my son on social media and asked me to not have a baby shower because we can't be that cruel to do such a thing when her family is going through grief. I told her that she has nothing to worry about since my husband and I were not planning to do a baby shower to begin with. Second time when disaster happened was when I took Joy and her 4 kids in because she had an argument with her husband. Result, her kids destroyed my baby room, ruined walls, and ended up breaking the crib and baby swing, and ended up painting most of my baby clothes. My stepsister only said, "They're just kids being kids." Fast forward, when my baby was born, Michael bought me a Mercedes as a thank you for giving birth to his son. Of course I was happy about it and shared the news of my son being born to my Insta. Oh man, I didn't know what was coming. Joy bombed me with the messages saying that I'm rubbing in her face that I gave birth to a baby whilst she couldn't. And now I'm rubbing in her face that me and Michael are living in luxury whilst she and her family are struggling. She said if I had $100,000 to spare for a car, I should have instead spent on buying them a new place to stay since they were fed up with renting places. She also mentioned that she wouldn't have miscarriages if I helped her more financially instead of buying my unborn child unnecessarily shit for some reason, whether it was my hormones or something. But I end up telling her that her kids, it's not my responsibility, and that her miscarriage was a sad thing, but she has no right to make me feel like it was my fault. So am I the idiot for saying that her miscarriage is not my responsibility and being insensitive about it? Not the idiot. It's not your responsibility to accommodate someone else's wishes in the space of your home. She isn't asking you to let her grieve. She is being manipulative and jealous and destroying your home. I would not want her and her kids in my home around my baby. Not the idiot, but she already has 4. You can't have one. Nor can you celebrate, be spoiled by your husband. In fact, you can't be happy unless she's happy. It's only fair. Wow, she wants your life. Story Hub. We're visiting my in-laws and my sister-in-law was telling me about all of the books she's recently read and bought as we both like reading. I've read some of these books and I wasn't sure if she should be reading them as she's 16 and some of them are pretty explicit and don't exactly have the healthiest romances. I told my husband about the books and he told his parents. My mother-in-law ended up asking me to point out which ones I knew were too mature for her and she confiscated them. My sister-in-law is mad at me as she isn't going to get the books back as my mother-in-law is planning to donate them and she's no longer allowed to buy whatever books she wants. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot, but in a rather sad way. You could have used your fear of her developing an unhealthy image of romance as an opportunity to talk to her about that exact issue. If you wanted her to be safe, you should have used your relationship with her in order to educate her on why these books might portray an unhealthy image and advise her to read with caution. You won't be able to control what she consumes ever, not with the internet and social media present, but you threw away the opportunity to be her guide. Now you've taken away not only her books, but managed to teach her that she can't trust you instead. You're the idiot. She is 16 and reads. Y'all should jump with joy for that fact alone. And let me reiterate, she is 16. She most likely has access to the internet. And excuse me for being blunt, if she wants to read or write, smut fiction or watch porn, she most certainly has her ways to do exactly that. Not to mention she already did read the books in question. While rereading books is a thing, most people don't do it that often. You know, you could have talked with her about the stuff she read and find out what she thinks about it at all. Have a healthy discussion. Might have turned out that she has very reasonable thoughts, you know. If you're enjoying the video, drop a like. I, 29F, have 2 kids, 6F, and 3F. My husband works weekdays from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and after work he normally goes out with the boys and normally gets home around 5 or 6. Here's how my typical day looks. I wake up at 6 a.m., make coffee and read a book. Then I do laundry, make breakfast and work and school lunches, wake my eldest at 7 a.m., get her ready for school, wake my husband, wake my youngest, drive my daughter to school, then do the shopping, cleaning, making lunch, etc. Then I pick up my eldest from school and make dinner. I do everything every day, and when my husband gets home he eats, watches TV, and falls asleep. I haven't had a full day to myself since my youngest was born. I really need a break from all this madness. Well, the other day my friend called me and asked if I wanted to go have lunch with her, then go shopping and maybe go for a drink or two. I was extremely excited and couldn't wait to just chill for the first time in ages. I told my husband and he didn't seem to care that much, so I assumed it would be okay, and he would watch the kids. Well, the day came, and as I was leaving, my husband stopped me and asked when the babysitter would be here. I told him there was no sitter, and he would have to watch them. He went insane on me and told me I can't just expect him to babysit. While I go out and have a good time, he told me that unless I find someone to watch the girls, I couldn't go. We got into a huge fight, and I ended up just calling my sister to watch them. He's been giving me the silent treatment ever since and refusing to talk to me, so am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He gets 2 to 3 hours daily with the boys, and then can't give you one weekend afternoon. Sorry, you don't have a husband. You have a boss and he has a nanny/maid. That's no marriage. Divorce this guy. Seriously, this is insane. Otherwise, sit him down and tell him that from now on, you get an equal amount of time away from the kids as he does after work. That you are not a slave. That he is a parent, not a babysitter. If you won't be reasonable, seriously start planning how you'll get out of this situation. You've literally married that man that women hear horror stories about. That's your partner. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I didn't think I was the asshole, but now I'm not so sure. My husband's family doesn't celebrate Christmas, so in mid-December we spend a week with them before flying to see my parents, who are Christmas mad, to spend the holidays with them. I didn't really want to go this year as my husband and I had our son in August, and they're very pushy with their ideals. They're the type of people who tell us their babies were talking while crawling at 3 months old, and because ours isn't, we're obviously doing something wrong. My father-in-law has made a few comments in the past about me feeding our baby. He has had formula occasionally due to supply issues, and he's very just pick one about it. Before we went over, he called my husband to tell me he didn't want me nursing in any family spaces, because it made him uncomfortable. I have to nurse in the bathroom or guest bedroom. I agreed just because I didn't want the judgment, but when I got there, they asked me repeatedly why I bothered to breastfeed when he obviously likes formula. So I was already uncomfortable, and my baby was hungry. Constantly going upstairs was getting frustrating. My mother-in-law and husband were smoking outside, and my father-in-law was cleaning up the kitchen. I decided to feed my son where I sat as none of them were present. My father-in-law happened to walk back in the room and kind of groaned and asked me what I was doing before leaving to complain. My mother-in-law came back in and yelled at me for breaking the house rules and doing something that I knew would make other people uncomfortable. Called me selfish, asked how I'd feel if they walked around naked, etc. I was pretty upset, and my husband did his best to mitigate the situation. I called my mom sobbing, and she offered to pay for my and my son's flight to them, but refused to pay for my husband, as it was his parents at fault, and from her perspective, he didn't do enough to support me. I ended up taking the offer because I felt horrible. Obviously, this has made the situation worse, but my husband isn't overly angry. He has told me I shouldn't have broken their rules, which feels childish. I thought I was in the right, and they were being assholes, but then my dad said they had a point, and a right to be angry, as it was their house, and they laid down the rules. My mom told him to quit playing devil's advocate, but now I'm really not sure. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If I'd have been there, I'd have jumped in to defend you. You were totally in the right, and I'm disgusted that your baby's own grandparents made you feel this way. I'd not let them see the baby for the duration of your breastfeeding. Maybe that'll teach them to not be such arseholes and to not judge you, and not to impose their stupid rules on you. Your baby needing food comes before their misplaced discomfort. Your mother sounds wonderful. I love everything she said. And your husband is a tool, not the idiot. Yes, normally you should respect other people's house rules, but this rule was designed to make you stop breastfeeding and switch to formula like they wanted. And that's wrong. They can't tell you or force you to do what they want when it comes to your child house rules or not. This was a rule to shame you and make you compliant to what they wanted. Screw them for that. Story Hub.